We have some geography in towns being represented. We have river crossings in the thin wavy lines. On the way back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the bottom half of the graph, which represents the temperature. So we're going to start on the left-hand side with the thickest border. That's the beginning of the movement. As they move east, some troops break off. Napoleon had strategic planning for why these troops moved, somewhat to protect the left flank, or have one account says it's a side troop. So not every group moved on towards Moscow. So, you know, as the band gets thinner, some of the width changes because of troop movement, but most of it is because of the loss of troops through either disease or capture or desertion. One of the problems that they had was getting enough supplies to all of these soldiers. So as they're moving towards Moscow in the summer, the hot weather affected their ability to perform effectively. At one point, I heard they were drinking stagnant water and dying from disease that way. There were very few battles on this move to Moscow, just a lot of loss because of poor logistics mostly. When they get close to Moscow, moving east, they had a major battle where they lost 30,000 troops. And as the Russians kept retreating toward Moscow, again, as Alex said, they were just devastated by the loss of the ability to forage for food, even if their suppliers couldn't get to them. On the far right side of the map, you can see Moscow, where they ended with 100,000 troops from the 422,000 they started with. Once they got to Moscow, it was about the middle of September, about September 14th. Napoleon was expecting that the leaders of the Russian army would be there so he could try to negotiate peace. But the Russians had abandoned the city and burned everything as they left. The French troops stayed for another month in Moscow and then decided to retreat back. So what we see is the black line where they're starting to move back towards the Russian border. Now, when they're moving back, what the map represents at the bottom is the change in temperature. So now you're facing the Russian winter. The bottom of the map shows the temperature in a Reaumur temperature scale, which is not terribly off from Celsius and Fahrenheit when you get down to these low temperatures. So as you keep moving through, going back towards the west, a lot of the troop losses were due to illness again, starvation, capture, desertion, and then when the winter starts to set in, now they're suffering from the harsh winter temperature. As you get towards some of the river crossings, you see a huge dip each time they cross the river, and it's mainly because thousands of people were drowning as they're crossing the river. So when you see about halfway through, a thicker black line comes down from the north. Those are the remaining troops that had broken off on the way that rejoin the rest of the group. And as they go and keep moving towards the west, a lot of the troops, again, die crossing the river. So as you keep moving west, you keep seeing the drop in temperature and how that affects the troop losses until you get all the way back to the Prussian border where it started, and it ends up with 10,000 of the 422,000 troops they started with. And that's about less than 3% of the people who started the journey ended up making.
Okay, hi everyone. I just want to mention some data really quick about the graphic. What does the map show us? For a visual comparison, the upper lighter band showing the large army going to Moscow versus the narrow dark band showing the small army returning shows casualties. capture multivariate of complexity, size of the artery, location, direction, temperature, and time. Integrates text and graphic into a coherent and whole. Illustrate high quality content, complete and accurate data, essential to support argument against war. Least comparison and adjacent to each other. Basically, the source of what Minaj tries to tell us through this graphic, we have many dimensions of data that take several individual graphs to represent. It's quite clear because of its ability to combine all the dimensions, the loss of life, time and location, temperature, geography, historical context. For example, he displayed the points where Napoleon's troops divided into groups, like Marilyn just mentioned. By breaking out the main bar into branches, he had thin lines to represent river crossing on the return trip that further designate Napoleon's diminishing troops. So clearly, if you start looking at the graph from the left to right, the small portion of the graphic and the small portion in dark, you can clearly see how it was like 468,000 people was reduced to only 10,000. So that's my main takeaway. Anyone have any questions?
Questions?
Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. I guess we don't have any questions. Thank you. All right,
It was clear.
all right, just come on back. Thank you. All right, we'll do a quick debrief when they get back, and then we'll take a quick break as we're getting set up for our last 3 interviews, our last exercise, which is 3 interviews. Excited for your interview, Renee? We're excited. Can't wait. So we've got reviews, interview on, what's your topic?
It's about my new athletic line.
Awesome. Can't wait. We've got Al and Emily are going to give us some insights into politics. Peru. Fantastic. Yay! Oh, thank you. That's fantastic. All right. Great work. So, how do we want to start this off? Let's think technically. What did we see visually, audially, visually, and in terms of sound? What did we see, and how did that play into this presentation, Mike?
I thought 3 was probably a challenge for Skype. It's hard to fit on the screen.
Yeah, I moved the laptop almost to the
Yeah.
other end of the table.
Okay, yeah. I wish I had taken a screenshot for you, but you saw. But what did we see in terms of the picture of the 3 of them?
Maryland was front and center, really clear, but then the 2 gentlemen on the sides, we can only see about half your face.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you notice that on your picture?
No, I saw all of me in there.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I
At
did.
least in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're speaking, you entered the camera range, but when you weren't.
Okay.
Yeah. So we started just basically by seeing a little more than half your face. And the same thing, it's like, Alex, we saw half your face, and Jose, we saw half your face. I think, Jose, when you started speaking, we saw pretty much all of your face, because you leaned in a little bit. Yeah. So, how did that affect our interpretation of Alex and our understanding of his content? We could only see half his face. Dan?
It's like he's prefacing a more important thing that's going to come. Marilyn's, she's right there front and center. So,
Okay.
you don't really have to pay attention to what Alex is saying, because once Marilyn talks, then that's where we're really at.
Okay, so we got that visual cue. Now I think Alex overcame that to an extent because he had such good, well rehearsed information. So he gained some credibility that way, but started a little bit of deficit because we were only able to see half of him. So, and what was, I think, awkward about that, we were only able to see half of him. We were able to see all of Marilyn just right in the middle of the screen. And then we were able to see half of Jose. Both Marilyn and Jose, they were staring right at the screen the whole time Alex is talking. So it's almost like they weren't connected with him because they were looking at us. And I think it's the thing to do in that situation would be to do a couple things. One, just turn and look at Alex. All right? Wait patiently for him, be supportive, be interested, and also smile.
Yeah, you're raising this.
You all,
I was like, hey, let's look at the camera so we don't look like we're not looking at you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So, okay, so, and I saw that when you gave your presentation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. When you gave your presentation, you were right in the camera, and that was fantastic. But I think the people who are not speaking would be well advised often to look at the speaker, because it just looked like you're kind of like your death march into Russia, like waiting.
We're paying attention. We're
Sort of.
focused. We're looking at the camera. We're trying to not look away or look at the screen, but we didn't think to look.
Jose interacted, I think towards the end, he was looking towards his teammates for validation, some of the facts he was recapping.
Okay.
So I think he did do some of that too at the end to kind of help bridge that connection between them, that they're also a team.
Yes, and I think that made a big difference. And so here's the thing: we're working to an extent in illusions. Now you all had some good information. I think you're a well-functioning team, but there are things that made us scratch our head and say, wait a minute, are they on the same page as a team? And that was one of them. The fact that you're all looking straight, you're not looking at each other, not really interacting, and not smiling like this is a fun, exciting thing, and that you want to portray to us. And Alex used some very good verbs where he said this is the most important, whatever. This is the graph that brought a nation to its tears. There's a lot of really interesting, meaningful stuff here.
It was just kind of, I think, it was a little bit uncomfortable trying to be all squished together.
Yeah.
And we talked kind of about this a little bit. We didn't know if it was better to kind of be squished together or move the camera or just have one person at a time come in. But at the end, I guess we just went with trying to move it together and capture all of us. But it looked like we were all like fitted.
We could see all of us.
We could see all of us, so maybe that's what kind of threw us off.
Okay, so we mentioned two options. They could have each come in one at a time, or they could have moved the camera. What do you all think in terms of?
I thought it was interesting that it looked like we were looking straight at Alex from a height perception, looking up at Marilyn.
I raised my
looking
chair
down
up.
at Jose on the same screen. And I don't know if maybe rotating it would have prevented or made it seem more even, because I don't know that you were sitting that different.
Yeah, the added awkwardness of like we're looking at them from different angles. So not only, and it was an interesting effect, Marilyn. So you're right in the center. You are completely silent, staring straight at us. And as Mike mentioned, your chin was up, like you're going in this authoritative point of view. All the while, Alex is trying to talk where he only gets half the screen. So it's something that made a difference to your audience for sure. But let's get back to which option they should have used. Lavanya?
I know, I think towards the end, I thought Jose came very close to him, so I could see his face and very projected.
Okay. Did that work for you? It didn't? It would like scared you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
oh,
was
okay.
so much in the front.
Okay,
I
all
don't know
right.
if it's just me.
Okay, well, we got some feedback that he interacted a little bit more with the team, which is helpful, but also we got some feedback that in the process he may have come close and scared at least one person.
I thought he was assaulting the camera just a little bit.
Oh, two, okay.
But like,
Two
I
people
can
felt
also
assaulted.
tell that he's reading right off the screen because he'll come really close and he'll squint.
Were you doing that? Were you reading off the screen?
No, I have like I was trying to focus between the camera and myself.
Okay. Oh, okay. So he was attempting to look directly at the camera. Is what he
Yeah,
said.
that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah. My note on that is you were not looking directly into the camera, and I think Alex and Marilyn were looking directly into the camera, and I noticed a difference. So the two of you were engaging me more just by looking at the camera, and then when you started talking and you weren't looking at the camera, you lost some of my attention. But thank you for trying. It's good to practice that. Where are we? I still want to know the best option for it.
I
Michelle.
think they should have zoomed or switched camera, moved the laptop, like Nick and I did, and I think that would have helped. If they would have rotated, there would have been a lot of distractions coming in and out. And if they just started with 3 of them and then focused more on Alex first and then moved the camera, I think that would have helped.
Yeah, they maybe could have started with the wide shot and then focused on all of them.
Yeah, I think they could have added some distance between the camera and where they're sitting as well.
Okay.
Because in real life, I've been in conferences where there are actually 20 people in the room, and the camera's actually 20, almost 20 feet away, and you can pretty much see everybody talking and interacting, and it's more natural that way.
Okay, and I understand you did the best you could. You put it as far away as possible, but if that's a possibility, that's an option. Yeah.
I think that rotating would have been the best option, specifically if the camera's too small for the group. And one of the reasons is too because they weren't really interacting. After they said their piece, they would fade away from the camera. So I think like Alex came out really strong, had great material, piqued everyone's interest with what we're going to be discussing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he stopped talking, he looked down for most of the rest of the presentation. So it was like, I think by rotating, they could have took those breaks, those moments after they got their information out, and it's just a continuous frame, for the audience as far as
Right.
I didn't know if that would be a distraction with us switching.
Or
just so, like, we're
rotate.
going to hand it off to
okay.
Marilyn, who's going to discuss
I've got-
the topic.
Yeah, I've got 2 votes for rotating the camera. And Alex, we never would have known that you felt bad about making a mistake if you hadn't told us. When you lost your spot.
No, we had some technical difficulties, and then I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now.
So what happened? You couldn't see what happened. You couldn't.
Well,
see
the
yourself?
screen was like, I can see all you guys, so I was like talking to the audience. I was like looking at the camera and looking at you guys, and then all of a sudden it just went away, and then
Minimize.
it just was at the corner, like a little bit of it, and I was like, and I started seeing something else. So I was like, what's going on
Okay,
here?
and what did it look like to us?
Like he forgot.
It looked like you forgot it looked like you forgot your place.
Well, yeah, I was thrown off. I was like, where was I? Like, I literally did forget my place because it was like my audience was gone, and I was just like, what happened? And then I was like, all right, where was I? What was I saying? And then after a while, I'm like, okay, let me pretend like they're there again.
Okay.
In that situation, do you voice out, I apologize, we're having just a slight difficulty, so it kind of talks the audience through it, so they know what's happening?
Sure. He could have asked. It looks like I lost the picture of the audience. Can everyone still see me? And we would have said, yes, we can still see you. At which point, I guess he would just keep talking until that situation resolves itself. There's a famous story about former President Ronald Reagan. When he was early on in his career, he was a newscaster, and the sound went out or something went, the sound didn't go out. What happened is he forgot what he was supposed to say. He forgot what he was supposed to say during this newscast. And what he did is he just started moving his lips as if the sound went out. So he's talking, and I'm talking, and I'm looking confidently. And then when he remembered what he was supposed to say, he just started talking again. And so all our view is just what we see on the screen. And what we saw is we saw Alex getting flustered, and so we thought, all right, it must be some dysfunction with the team. But to your point, Nick, I think you could have just asked, say, all right, what's going on here? Can everyone still see me? Okay, I'll just keep right on going.
Okay.
And even if the 2 points didn't make sense, even if you linked something ahead of something else, we forgive you for that, or we don't notice that, or we think we're just watching a video conference and so we might have missed something. We tend to think it's our fault rather than your fault. Okay, fantastic. So next we've got interviews. All right, so let's take 10 minutes, except for maybe Renew. I'm going to steal like the first 5 minutes of your break to get set up for the interview. And let's come back at 8:35. And then we'll finish these up.
Yeah, well, I was